In a peaceful Oregon town, a 13-year-old girl picked flowers for her science project until a gunshot shattered everything. What followed wasn't just a tragedy, it was a reckoning. This is the true story of a father, a sheriff, forced to confront injustice in his own front yard, and the daughter whose quiet courage changed an entire community. My name is Daniel Cole, Sheriff of Silver Creek, Oregon. For most of my career, I believed the best way to serve justice was to keep a strict line between who I was in uniform and who I was at home. That belief held for a while, until the day my daughter was nearly killed on our front lawn for picking flowers. Lena is 13. She was born with spina bifida, which means she's spent more days in hospitals than most kids spend in school cafeterias. But you'd never hear her complain. She rolls through life in her chair with more grace than most people manage on 2 feet. She sketches animals in her spare time, reads faster than I can keep up, and once told me she wants to be a botanist so she can give nature to people who live in boxes. That morning, I was raking leaves while Lena gathered petals from the bushes along our front yard for a science project on pollination. She was humming some old folk tune she probably picked up from her teacher, and she was happy, focused, at peace. Then I heard the gunshot. There's a sound you never forget, the crack of a handgun fired close. It cuts the air like it's slicing the world open. I turned and saw Lena jolt forward in her chair, blood trailing from her head like a ribbon in the wind. My world dropped. I sprinted to her. She was conscious but confused, reaching up to her temple, her hands slick with blood. Then I saw her, Karen Whitlow, standing just a few yards away on the property line, our HOA president, holding a silver revolver like it was part of her gardening kit. She wasn't shaking from regret. She wasn't in shock. She was angry. She was taking from HOA-protected bushes. Karen barked. She had no right to touch them. She had shot my daughter in the head over a flower. A child. A disabled child. I dropped to my knees beside Lena, pressing my hand gently to her wound. You're okay. Stay with me. I've got you. You did nothing wrong. I said it over and over until my voice cracked. Then the training kicked in. My hands worked, while my brain split half father, half sheriff. I radioed it in. Calm, precise. 324 Sycamore Lane. 1 shot fired. Suspect is armed. Victim is my daughter. Medical requested immediately. Karen blinked. Wait, you're the sheriff. Her revolver hit the grass. Neighbors emerged, drawn by the noise. Some recorded, some froze. Maya, a teenager across the street, ran up and said she caught the whole thing on video from her bedroom window. The ambulance came fast. Lena was loaded in. I rode with her, gripping her fingers the whole way. The doctor said it was a grazing shot, millimeters to the left, and it would have ended her life. A concussion, blood loss, trauma. But she survived. That night, as she slept under a morphine drip, I sat outside the hospital room watching the security footage, the doorbell cams, and, finally, Maya's video. Karen had aimed. There was no stumble, no accident. Her words, caught in Maya's recording, were chilling. She had no right. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I read Karen Whitlow her rights myself, not as a sheriff, not as a neighbor, but as a father. She tried to twist the story, claimed self-defense, claimed she didn't recognize Lena's disability. Her lawyer used words like misunderstood and disoriented, but video doesn't lie, and neither does the voice of a child who almost died for touching a flower. Lena testified in court 3 weeks later. Her temple still bore a faint scar. Her voice shook, but her eyes didn't. I just wanted petals for my project, she said, to learn how flowers help the world. I didn't think someone would want to hurt me for that. The courtroom fell silent. The judge was swift. This was not a property dispute, she said. This was an act of unjustified violence, an attempted execution, masked as enforcement. Karen was found guilty of attempted murder, aggravated assault, and a hate crime against a disabled minor, Marishayeras. No parole. The story might have ended there, but it didn't. The community changed. Karen's arrest shattered something false in Silver Creek, the illusion of order. It woke up people who had been silent too long. The HOA board dissolved within the month. A group of neighbors, led by Maya's parents and a retired teacher named Mr. Ellis, formed a new coalition. They called it Silver Creek Forward. And at their very first meeting, they invited Lena to speak. She rolled up to the mic wearing a lavender hoodie and a sunflower pin on her chest. Her hands trembled slightly as she unfolded her notes. "I believe in communities," she began. "But communities should protect people, not control them. What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, ever." Then she proposed a new initiative, Lena's Law. It included mandatory background checks and mental health evaluations for anyone in neighborhood enforcement roles. It banned weapons from any form of community leadership. It guaranteed full inclusion and protection for disabled residents and children. The vote was unanimous. Over the next few months, letters poured in from parents, from survivors, from kids like Lena who had been told they were too fragile or too different. Flowers arrived in droves, sunflowers, her favorite. 6 months after the shooting, Lena helped cut the ribbon at the Silver Creek Community Garden, a space rebuilt from Karen's old property. At the entrance stands a wooden sign, hand-painted by neighborhood kids. "Pick all you want. This garden belongs to everyone." I stood beside her as she touched the first bloom, a white daisy. She smiled softly and whispered, "Flowers shouldn't be dangerous. They should be shared." That night, I tucked her in and watched as she pressed a fresh petal into the pages of her sketchbook. I still hear the echo of that gunshot sometimes, when the wind cuts too fast. But then I remember what came after. Justice didn't stop with a sentence. It kept going in community meetings, in public gardens, in the eyes of a girl who refused to let hate define her. Karen's cruelty tried to shatter a child. Lena's courage reshaped a town.